Why do some Egyptians have such long heads? During the pre-dynastic period 6000 to 3150 BCE and early dynastic period 3150 to 2686 BCE, the cultural tradition of skull elongation emerged among the royal elite of Egypt. It involved binding the head of an infant with cloth or other materials in order to elongate its shape. For a long time, this practice has remained a mystery among archaeologists, and none can agree as to why they did it. Some experts believe that it was done for social or cultural reasons, such as to indicate status or an ideal of beauty. But this practice wasn't seemingly created in a vacuum. Skull elongation has been documented in various cultures around the world. The ancient Maya of Central America practiced it as early as the pre-classic period, 2000 BCE to 250 CE. The Inca civilization of South America practiced it as early as the Late Horizon period, 1438 to 1533 CE. The ancient Nubians of Africa practiced it as early as the Kerma period, 2500 to 1550 BCE. The ancient civilization of the Aleuts in North America practiced it as early as the Thule period, 1000 to 1600 CE. The ancient Polynesians in the Pacific practiced it as early as the Lapita period, 1100 to 500 BCE. The ancient Mersey people in Ethiopia practiced it as early as the 20th century. And among them were giants. Across the world, giant skeletons with elongated and cone-shaped skulls have been documented, like the giant elongated skulls found on Easter Island. Due to the concealment of nearly all giant skeletons in the fossil record, it's unknown whether theirs is of artificial skull deformation or a genetic trait. Although it has largely disappeared, the most recent documented case of skull elongation practices was by the Mangbetu people in the Congo of Central Africa, who were doing this up until the 1930s. It's worth noting that the practice of skull elongation is not limited to these cultures, and it has been documented in many other cultures across the world. The practice was particularly associated with the elite classes, and it could be seen as a marker of status and nobility. In the Nahai-speaking area of Taman Island and the south-southwestern Moluccan, Australasia, a person with an elongated head is thought to be more intelligent, of higher status, and closer to the world of the spirits. Most now see it as another example of the archaic practices of body deformation perpetuated by the ancients due to a lack of knowledge, but the fact that this practice even existed would indicate an advanced understanding of the human anatomy. They knew that during the first year of life, an infant's skull is not yet fused together and grows rapidly and expands to accommodate the growth of the brain. The skull also becomes more rounded as the fontanelles, soft spots, close in the sutures, the spaces between the skull bones, fuse. The skull also develops more defined ridges and bumps that correspond to the different regions of the brain. So across the world, all these supposedly isolated cultures worked out that an infant's skull could sustain such pressure, and by binding it they could mold the brain in a certain direction and force the skull to expand beyond its original size. Common sense would say that these traditions come from a shared base of knowledge from the ancient past. This isn't unlike the many other traditions of elongating and augmenting body parts. They require a knowledge of the resilience of the human body and its ability to accommodate extreme alteration and grow into a new form. But one question I never hear brought up by any expert in the field of science or antiquity in regards to this phenomenon. Were they augmenting not the outer, but the inner? To understand the mind of these ancient civilizations and all their vast wealth of achievements, wisdom, and mysteries they left behind for us to decipher, we must ask, why would they voluntarily disfigure themselves in this way? Was there a function to this practice? One must ask, are there any advantages to elongating the skull and brain? If we look at the brain in this elongated formation, several parts of the brain would be augmented. The cerebellum, the part responsible for coordinating movement and balance, as well as performing complex computations to adjust movements in response to sensory input, would be extended several inches. This may indicate better motor coordination and balance. The occipital lobes, located at the back of the brain, would grow quite a bit in depth. These are responsible for processing visual information. A larger occipital lobe may indicate better visual processing and perception. Additionally, Studies have found that people with larger occipital lobes have better ability in tasks such as visual memory and pattern recognition. And the parietal lobes, located at the top and back of the brain, are responsible for a variety of functions including sensory processing, spatial awareness, and navigation. A larger set of parietal lobes may indicate better ability in tasks such as spatial reasoning, perception of numbers and mathematical abilities, visual spatial manipulation, and interpreting sensory information from the body such as touch and proprioception. Additionally, the parietal lobes play a role in attention and working memory. People with larger parietal lobes tend to have better attentional resources, which allows them to perform multiple tasks simultaneously. These would be given a significant expansion. Given their high level of sophistication, their vast knowledge of the stars, geometry, and science, their master craftsmanship, and their wellspring of wisdom. Could they have been onto something? That, coupled with their knowledge and reverence of the pineal gland, the third eye to the seat of the soul, is it fair to assume that they sought to augment the composition of their minds? Was this their secret to reaching a higher mind? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm out. Thanks for watching.